Hello and welcome to the Sewing Studio. I'm Anna and this video is all about the fantastic Brother Entrepreneur PR680W. I'm going to talk you through all its features and functions, show you everything that comes in the box. We'll do some embroidery, I'll show you how to thread it, show you its capabilities and just how beautiful the results are, and then we'll talk a bit about warranty and support. Now we've split all of those into chapters, so if you want to head straight to the embroidery section, just forward on to that. And don't forget, if you like what you're seeing, subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell to be notified every time we upload another video like this, or it could be one of our really useful sewing tutorials. So let's get into the Brother PR680. It's a 6-needle embroidery only machine, and that means that you can embroider designs with up to 6 colours without the need to rethread or change any of the threads. It will sew the whole design because it will have the 6 threads already in the needles. You can do designs with more colours than that, and when it comes to the additional colour, the machine will just stop for you to thread that colour in and off you go again. It's nice and simple. Now the thread stand up here is a nice big thread stand. You can hold those large cones of threads, which makes it very economical. And then there's a number guided thread path for you to follow for each needle, and a needle threader in there as well. So it's very simple to thread. Now within the machine there's 763 designs built in and around 50 different font styles as well. And they're all located behind a very large colour touchscreen. So it's a 10.1 inch screen, so it's nice and big so you can see what you're doing. And it's also adjustable, so you can tailor it so that it's comfortable for you to use. There's also a lot of settings in there as well, so you can tailor the machine and set it up for you and the things that you like to embroider, so you're getting the most out of the machine. The design themselves can be edited in all sorts of different ways on that screen, and I will show you that when we get to the sewing section. It's got 4 nice bright LED lights on the front, so you can see everything you're doing when it's embroidering out. And it also has a crosshair laser on there. So where the needle's going to drop it into the fabric, you've got a cross, basically a red cross with a laser. And that's quite a large cross, which is unique to Brother. And that helps you with design placement and getting them exactly where you need them to be. It also has a free arm on the front here, so when you're sewing ready-made garments and things like that, the excess fabric is hanging down out of the way. So you don't need to worry about sewing through 2 layers or anything getting stuck in the hoop or jammed. It's also really useful for doing trickier things like sewing sleeves, pockets, cuffs, things like that. Now the maximum embroidery area on this machine is 300 by 200 millimetres. 12 inches by 8 inches, if that's the measurement you prefer. So it's nice and big and gives you a wide scope for a vast range of projects. Now this machine packs a punch. It can sew at up to 1,000 stitches per minute. And it has high speed acceleration, so it will get to that speed within just 7 seconds. But it does have a delicate touch as well, so you can take that down to around 400 stitches per minute, and that's really useful if you're sewing something quite delicate. You know, with a delicate fabric, with quite a dense design, sometimes there can be a lot of puckering, so if you slow it down, it avoids that for you. Within the touchscreen as well, there's built-in tutorials in there, so that will help you getting started with the machine, but also as you're going along and helping you grow with it so that you're always getting the best results on your projects. So what comes in the box alongside with the machine? There are 4 different sizes of hoop. So you've got the largest one, the 300 by 200 mil, and then 180 by 130 mil. And then 100 by 100 and a nice small 60 by 40. And these all come with a plastic template grid that fit onto the relevant size of hoop, and that helps when you're positioning your designs. You'll find a range of accessories, and those all fit nice and neatly in this accessory case. And then you've also got a quick reference guide. You've got a full instructional manual here. But don't forget there are tutorials built into the machine as well. And then in this one, you'll find a guide for all the different designs that are on the machine. They're all in there for you to select, but if you want to see them in more detail, how long they take to stitch out, how many colour changes, those sorts of things, there's a reference guide for you there. You've then got your power lead, your cable to hook the machine up to your PC, and then these frames that hold the hoops. So you've got frame A, which holds all the hoops that come with the machine. And then Brother do a wealth of different optional extras in terms of frames and things, and some of them use frame B. So this frame comes with the machine, so if you buy any of the extras, you've got this one ready to go so they can be mounted on there. Now in those extras, they do a bespoke stand for the machine. So the machine weighs about 35 kilos, something like that. So it's quite hefty, and you need to make sure it's on a base that's sturdy and can take the weight of the machine and not vibrate and move around. And that's exactly what the stand is designed for. It's got a nice bit of storage underneath. It's also got a small amount of height adjustment, so you can tailor it so it's comfortable for you. But importantly, it's on casters, so it's very easy to move around. Okay, let's get to the exciting bit. So I'm going to show you how to thread the machine, and let's sew some embroidery. And to load the bobbin, you just want to gently pull the cover down and then use this lever to take the bobbin case out. And then within the accessories are these pre-wound pre-wound bobbins. That one's a good one. And one side has got this black bit which is magnetic and the other side doesn't. So if you just pop that in, it then magnetizes to the metal, and then you just take it up through that slit there and under the plate. And then you want to line this hole up vertically at the top, and then you can just push that in and just leave a couple of inches there dangling. Pop the door up again. No need to be drawing up the thread or anything, you can just start embroidering. So when it comes to threading the machine, it doesn't matter what order you thread the needles in. I tend to go 1 to 6, but honestly it really doesn't matter. So what you want to do first is grab your thread and then go from back to front through the thread guide straight above the spool pin, and then into the one on the front here, and then there's another one just in the back, and then you're clamping the thread under this pre-tensioner here. So I like to hold on to both sides, slide it under, make sure it's firmly in there. And then you might not be able to see on camera, but there is a guide here with a number that shows you which way to go. Now in under here is the tension discs, and you're going around those discs. So you want to take it around and in. I like to give it a bit of a tug to make sure the thread is firmly in there. And then you're going around that pin, over that one, and again under that tension guide there. Then you're coming down and around, post it through the take-up lever and come back down again. Now this is what you want to watch out for here. Sometimes in these they get caught, so you can just pop that back where it needs to be, and then you want to go through the last hole. Just going to stand up again, through the last hole in the top there. Now I tend to get all 6 of them to this stage before I then come and do the needle threader. So what you want to do next is, in the box of accessories there'll be this tool which you can push and it extends out. Again, it's hard to see on camera, but there is a last guide. I like to call it a little piggy's tail because it kind of flicks up that you need to get the thread into, and this tool can help you do that. So you just want to hold on to it gently, get the thread in between the groove, and then you can extend it out and just push it into that guide and pull it through. Now for the needle threader, you need to tell it which needle that you're threading, and the needles go from 1 to 6 from right to left, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I just touch the screen a moment and go into the needles, at the moment it's on needle 3, so I want to go to needle 1. So it's moved along so that needle 1 is now in the center position. I'm going to press the needle threader button and the needle threader shoots out. I'm then going to use my little tool again, in underneath those, and then up and around, and there's a little cutter there that you can cut the excess off. Press the needle threader button again, whoops, and it's drawn the thread through the eye of the needle and up out the way. So then when I want to move on to needle 2, so I've already got it to this stage, as you can see, I just press number 2, and now the number 2 needle is centered. Press the needle threader, out it comes. I can pop my thread in and around, cut that off, press it again, and in it goes. And you just carry on all the way along for whichever number of needles that you need, and then you can just press OK there. So I've already done the other 4, so that's all threaded, ready to go. So this is the main screen that you're presented with, and all the designs that are built into the machine are accessed with these folders here. If you've got any designs saved to the machine or on a USB stick or direct from your PC, transferring via Wi-Fi on the cloud, things like that, you can access those down here. So the first thing I want to show you is the crosshair positioning. So I've already loaded up my fabric with my stabiliser, and I've just put a couple of diagrams on here so I can show you how that works and you're able to get your designs in a precise position that you want. So firstly, I'm going to choose a design. So I'm going to go into here, and I know in here there's a little ladybird. So I'm going to choose that one. And what it does is it puts it smack bang in the middle of the hoop for you. And then it's up to us to move it where we need it to be. Might be that you want it in the middle, that's absolutely fine. But that's the design I want, so I'm going to set that, and then that takes you to an editing screen. At this stage, I don't want to edit anything on that. I'll show you that in a bit. So I'm going to edit end, because I finished that. And then you come to the positioning screen. And here is where you can select the crosshair laser. So you can see you've got the red arrow there and then different position points. So if I press that one, this is my design here, and I can then choose which point I want to align it from. So if I wanted to align it in this bottom corner, I would just choose that one, and that will be my first position, the starting point. I could go up to the middle here, up to that one, up to here. But for this one, I'm going to place it in the middle of this star and to sew on that angle. So say for instance you had a fabric that had leaves on it or something, and you wanted to place the ladybird on that specific leaf, this is how you could achieve that. So I want to align it in the middle, so I'm going to go next, and then you can choose what axis you want to align it to, whether you want to align it to the horizontal line or a vertical line. I want it to go up that way, so I want the ladybird's head to face that way. So I'm going to align it vertically upwards. That's my second point. So I'm going to hit next. And now it's asking us to tell us where we want the starting point, point 1, to be. So now we're going to move with these arrows here so that this crosshatch is in the centre of here. So these are different speeds of how you can move it. So I'm going to move it along. That's quite large increments, so I'm going to move it down so I can get right in the centre there. And hopefully you can see now how the centre of the cross is in the middle of my star. So that's where I want it to start. So I'm going to go next. And now it's asking, where do I want point 2 to be? So where do I want to align it? And I'm going to align it on this line here, like I say, so it's facing that way. So I'm just going to go across to there. And then I'm going to hit set, and you can see here now it's moved it over to the position that I want it to be in. So it's no longer in the centre, it's now on an angle in the position that I want to embroider it. So now I want to stitch this out, so we'll go to embroidery, and here is where it's telling me, so it's telling me to use embroidery number 2, which has got the goldy colour on it, and it's telling me to, that's not the right colour, so on spool number 1 to put the right colour, which it wants black. So I've got a dark navy on there, which is absolutely fine. I don't want to be rethreading anything at this point. But as intelligent as the machine is, that's the only thing it can't tell you if you've chosen the wrong colour or you've got the wrong colour. Now in the settings screen, let me just close that down a minute. There are different brands of colour built in here. There's lots of different ones. I mean, there's hundreds of brands on the market, but these are kind of the most popular and the most reputable ones. So the embroidery and the country are brothers, I couldn't say that then, brothers' own colours of embroidery thread. And then you can go through to Madeira, they're poly, they're rayon, sulky, all sorts of different ones in there. So I'm using Madeira rayon, so the benefit of that is that you can actually then tell it what exact colour you've got on there if you want to. So I'm going to hit OK. What you can also do in the settings, if I go across to here, you can anchor a specific colour to the needle. So you can do it that needle number 1 is always navy blue, needle number 2 is always orange, and that's really useful if you're doing a production run, I guess. So if you're sewing the same embroidery out over and over and over again, it's always going to know what colour is on each needle. Now we're not always doing that, so I'm not going to set those on there. And what you can do from this embroidery screen is you can either swap the needle that it's going to sew out, or you can tell it what needle you want to do. So here is where you can swap it. So you could say that you want to swap out colour number 1 for colour number 4. So it's going to do the red rather than the darker blue. And this one here, you can tell it what you want to, which needle you want it to embroider out. So the dark colour here, I've got needle number 1, okay. And then for the red colour here, I've actually got that on needle number 4. So I'm going to press number 4 and OK. So it's now going to choose needle number 1 for there and needle number 4 for there, which is the dark blue and the red. That's exactly what I want. At the moment it's on 400 stitches. I'm going to increase that because I'm on felt, so it can take it a bit faster. I'm going to lock the screen and start embroidering. So you can see how that's sewn out exactly in the position that I asked it to sew it. It's quite a small design, but it's done a very, very neat job. It's very precise. So that was positioning something using the centre as a guide. Let's take a look now using the bottom as a guide. So say for instance this was a pocket on a garment and you wanted to put something above the pocket. So I'm just going to choose a design. Let's go for a dolphin and I'll set that in the edit, and then I'll go back into the crosshair here. So it's still remembered to do it in the center position, but now I want to line it along the bottom here. So I'm going to press next. So the first position I want to be in the middle here. So the little mark I've put there is the middle of the pocket. And this is really useful, A, for lining up on a pocket, but also if you're not quite getting your garments or products in the hoop straight. You know, I always put a little mark before I embroider, even if there's no other reference point, just a little mark to show me where I want to put it so that I can make sure it's exactly where I want it to be. So again, it wants to know which direction I want to line it up in. And yes, I want to line it up along that direction. So I'm going to go next. So now I need to tell it where I want position 1 to be. So if you remember, I'm going to move it across. Now I'm going to go just slightly above, because if this was a real pocket, you wouldn't want it to sit on the pocket. Now I can see that this isn't straight, so this is a good example of where you might have hooped it up, not very straight. So that's the first position. I'll just move that across a little bit more. And then I'm going to go across and tell it where I need the second position to be. So I'm going to go back this way, Let's go a bit faster. And I need to go up a little bit. There, okay. And again, you can see now where it's moved the dolphin in this instance in the position so that it's going to sew above my makeshift pocket here. Now, I'm looking at this and thinking, oh, that looks quite close to the top of the hoop. So if you're ever doubtful, you can press this one here, and what that's doing is it's moving the crosshair to show you where it's going to stitch out. So if I do that again, it's going to come down here, along, and it's actually going to finish at the top there. So it's not going to hit the hoop. So I'm all good to sew that out. So I'm going to go to the embroidery screen. Now it's asking me for these colours on here for what it's going to sew. Again, I don't have those colours on there, so I'm going to tell it what colours I want it to stitch. So colour number 1, here you can see a representation of what that colour is going to be. So if you scroll down, oh no, sorry, I thought that was going to show me what colour that was going to stitch next, but it's not. That's, if it was off the page, you could change your colours on there. But I'm going to tell it that I need number 1, so I want that colour to be the light blue, which is on number 6. Number 2, there you go, look, this is the screen I was thinking I was in before. This is the main body of the dolphin, which I want in the darker blue, which is needle number 1. And then the eye in there is on the lighter blue, so I'll do that on the dark, again, number 1. Okay, so let's stitch that one out. So as you can see, it's done a beautiful job of that design, and it's stitched exactly where I want it. So that's how you can use the crosshair feature to help you position your designs exactly where you need them to be. So let's take a look now at some of its other features and editing capabilities. So let's choose a design. Go in here, let's go with this one for instance. So I've got that one up there. That's what I wanted to sew out next, so I'm going to hit set. Now within this editing screen you have different things that you can do. So you can change the size of it, so you can make it all bigger, you can make it all smaller, you can squash it down, you can do all sorts of things. So you can make it bigger like that, and then you heard that beep then, hopefully you did, and that's because there's a parameter of how much bigger you can make it, how much smaller you can make it. And the machine will deal with the density of the stitches for you, so you don't need to worry about any of that with the designs that are built in. So we'll go OK. You can rotate your designs, so if that didn't fit in the hoop that way around, for instance, you can go to rotate. You could turn it 90 degrees and then do it that way. Now you can rotate in minor increments, so again, to help with positioning, and if you're not quite straight, you can use those plastic templates and the crosshair laser and then move the things around and get it where you absolutely need it to be. I'm okay to sew it that way around, so I'm going to put it back to the middle. You can mirror image, which is a little bit pointless on this one because it's quite symmetrical. I'll show you that on the next one. Now you can, so this is the design that's built in. If you didn't want to sew it out in those different colours, you can change the colours on the screen so it will show you what it's going to look like. So you'll have an idea of the colours that you're thinking of sewing out before you actually sew it out and go, oh, actually, I don't like that. Now, what's also a very good feature on this machine is the colour shuffling. So you can go into here and you can choose a palette. So if you wanted to have vivid colours on there, it's then giving you ideas here of what you could change it to in terms of vivid colours. Now it's saying Madeira Rayon. If you remember when I went into the settings, I chose Madeira Rayon because that's what I'm using. So you can do soft colours, so they're more pastel-y colours. So you might decide that you like that one, for instance. You press on it and it shows you a representation of how it will embroider, what it's going to look like. You can also go to gradients. Now you can choose a colour palette. So say I wanted a gradient of, well, I'm on here now, so blues. Oh, you need to go to manual and then you can tell it. All right, let's go to pink then, and I can go okay, and it's given me all different gradients of pink. So if you're really not sure with colour, or you're not good with colour, or you want some ideas, you can use that to help you. So I'm going to cancel out of that and then okay that. Now this one here, you can copy everything down, you can duplicate your pattern, you know, if you wanted to do borders or duplicate in 4 corners and things. Not really relevant for this pattern, but if you wanted to make it into a patch or an appliqué, you can press that one and set the distance that you want it to be from the edge of your design, press set, and then it's put a nice appliqué or patch, like a satin stitch border around there for you to create that. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to hit cancel. And then you can also put a stippling stitch in the background. So here you can press this one and you can see it's now added a stippling stitch in there. You can change the spacing of your stippling, so you can make it smaller or bigger, whatever you prefer. You can also switch to this one as well and do some echo quilting in there. So you can see now it's done echo quilting. So it's very easy. They're 2 kind of quite popular principles, if you like, and they're just very easily there for you to decide what you want to do. And again, you can change the spacing if you want your echo quilting closer together or further apart. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to cancel out of there. Now I want to add something in the middle of here. So I'm literally going to go to the word add. It takes you back to the home screen. This design is still here for you to choose the next element that you want. So in here, I'm going to pop this in the middle here. So I want that one next. So I'm going to hit set. Now I can see it's too big for in there. So I'm going to go to the size and I'm going to reduce it down. And then I'm going to move it so that it's, more central. Come on, in my design. Nearly. Come on. It's great how we talk to a machine, isn't it? So I'm going to OK that. If you want to have a look at that bigger, you can choose this one up here and you can increase this. So here you can see how that's going to stitch out. So I might just adjust that up a tiny bit more so that it's not touching that one there. That's those stitches there, sorry. So I'm just going to move it up a little bit more. There we go. Let's check that again. That'll do. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so I'll close out of that one. Now here is where the mirror image, you see? So it's flipped it round the opposite way. So that's how the mirror image works. Next, we're going to add some text into here. So I'm going to say add, and I'm going to go to the fonts. Let's just choose standard font, and I'm just going to pop my name in there, Anna. So I got capital A. Now it defaults to the large. You can take it down to medium, and you can take it down to small. I was wondering if I can take it off the middle, but you can't. So it always puts it in the middle, and then we move it afterwards. So A, and then I'm going to go to lowercase n-n-a. So that's what I want to do, and I'm going to set that. So then I'm going to move it down so that it's near where I want it to be. There we go. And then what we can do is we can use what's called array to kind of curve that to the same curve as that sash. So if you go into the T symbol, and then here you can see array. So I'm going to choose this one because I only want a slight curve, and then you can see it's going along the curve of the sash. Now you can increase the curve if you need to, and you can decrease it as well. You can also change the spacing on those letters, so now they're quite far apart and I want to bring them back together so it looks more like a word there. Just going to move it down slightly. Okay, and then let's just check what that looks like. So I can bring it up there, and that's kind of near enough in the middle, that's okay. So that's all done. So I don't have these colours on the machine, so I'm going to change it on the screen so that I can see what colours it's going to look like. Multicolour, by the way, that is with the fonts. You can set it so that each letter is a different colour if you want to do that. So I'm going to select the spool with the different colour symbols, and at the moment it's on my name, that's the last one, so I'm just going to go up, and that's only because it was the last thing that I had selected in the other screen. So here you can see a representation of what colour that is that it's going to stitch out. So that's all the leaves. So I'm going to go for a green in that. I could go to the effort of putting in the actual colour that I physically have, but it's good enough for me now to see a representation to just choose a green. But if I wanted to, I could type in the actual number. So that's green. And then the gold bits in here, I have got a gold colour on there, so I might leave that like that. And then the purple sash, I'm going to do in a light blue. Must be the other way. So let's do that in that colour. And then these kind of shadowy bits, I'm going to do in a darker blue. And then the image's headband there, let's go for a red. Let's go there. The actual girl herself, I've got a dark blue, so I'll choose that one. And then her earring, I'm going to go for orange. It's here somewhere. Let's go there. And then my name, I'm going to do in dark blue again. Okay, so now I can see that's what it's going to sew out like. That's how it's going to look. Perfect. Okay, so let's close that. So I'm going to go OK. So I've done all my editing, everything that I want to do. I'm going to press Edit End. By the way, actually, you can at this point as well use this symbol here to group everything together. So at the moment they're individual components, but if you wanted to group it and move it all, say if you wanted to sew this out, 2 or 3 times on this, you can then group it all and move it over to here, duplicate it, move it over there. Basically most of the things that you want to do, you can do. So this one is checking the position, so I'm fine to sew it in the middle of my piece of fabric here. That's no problem at all. You can use the crosshair from here if you want to. You can rotate it, so if it needed to go in the different orientation. This one here, if you're sewing something quite thick, like a blanket or something that's tricky, and you don't want to hoop it up, or you can't hoop it up, you can just hoop up your stabiliser and then float the fabric on the top. So you just put in the fabric on the top here, and then this one here we'll put a box around it, and that will sew a basting stitch for you. So it will keep it in place whilst it's stitching the embroidery, and then you can simply just take out the basting stitches afterwards. And then there's all sorts of other things you can do here. There's a colour sort function, so it would then do, it's going to do it on this design anyway, but some designs don't, that are more intricate. But it would just group all the same colour together, basically. So I've done all my editing, and I'm going to go to embroidery. It's asking me again to make sure I've got the right colours on the right spools. So I need to tell it. So I'm going to go to this one here. So, number 6 is the basting stitch. Hang on, we ought to take that off. So we go into embroidery setting and OK to cancel embroidery, and I'm just going to press that basting one again to take that off. I forgot that was on there. So back to embroidery, close that down because I'm going to tell it. So I'll go in this one. So the green number 1, I've actually got it on number 5. The gold is on number 3. The pale blue is on number 6, dark blue is number 1, the red is on number 4, the dark blue is number 1, orange is number 2, let's just go down, orange is number 2, that's that one, and then my name is the blue, which is number 1. Okay, so we can lock the screen and start embroidering. So that's the finished design using all 6 colours, and as you can see it gives just beautiful results even while it's embroidering at those high speeds. And on the reverse side of the embroidery, it's just as neat on there, everything's compact. Obviously you can see the bobbin thread there, and then a bit of the top thread coming through, which is exactly what you want to see. When you see things like this, you know you're sewing at the correct tension. Now Brother have a couple of different apps that you can use with this machine. One is My Stitch Monitor, so you could have your machine set up in a room somewhere, get it started on its embroidery, go off, make a cup of tea or do some other jobs that you need to do, and you can basically watch it from your device and see where it's to. It'll tell you if it's had any problems, breaking a thread, or if a thread's run out, something like that, but you don't need to stand by the machine at all times. They also have an app called Art Spira, and there's this little leaflet that comes in the box that explains it a little bit to you. But basically there's a free version of the app and you've got lots of different designs and things in there that you can load onto the machine. If you pay for the subscription, which is just a few pounds a month, you can then also upload photos, which it then uses AI technology to transform them into like a cartoon style or a crayon drawing or a watercolour, things like that. You can also create your own very simple kind of drawings and things in there. So that's available to you should you want it. Now this machine comes with 12 months warranty, and in the box you'll find this card that explains that to you, and it gives you details of how to register your machine with Brother. And don't forget that we're here at the sewing studio as well. We're a physical shop, we all love our machines and know how to use them so that we can help and advise you in any way that you might need. I hope now we've come to the end of this video. I've managed to demonstrate to you just how amazing the Brother PR680 embroidery machine is. It's got lots of capabilities. It's fascinating to watch. I find it fascinating to watch, so I hope you did as well. But it really can transport your embroidery to another level. And if you're on a business, it can increase your productivity. You know, without those colour changes, the speed that it sews, it really can make all the difference. If you decide this is the machine for you, then head on over to our website and grab yours now. Delivery is fast. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again soon.